Hi guys, I'm Kiri, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna talk about Fiat DINO Coupe. By some people this is the most desirable Fiat model, and maybe they are right, because the way this car was developed is very interesting. Formula 1 always been the top race, but in 1960s was very popular another race class as well. Formula 2 was something like a mini Formula 1, and most of the Formula 1 teams were racing in Formula 2 as well. The most prestigious race team Ferrari was competing in both classes. But for Formula 2, in 1965 FIA changed the rules, and the new rules were a little bit different than before. To compete in this class, the team needed to use an engine from a road car produced in at least 500 examples within 12 months. 500 engines with maximum 6 cylinders. For a small manufacturer like a Ferrari, this was almost impossible. 1960s they were producing few hundred road cars each year, never mind to produce 500 engines. So what they did? Enzo Ferrari make a deal with Fiat, the good old friend Fiat. But again, 500 engines to be fitted in Ferrari cars only was impossible. Fiat said, okay, you take how many engines you want for your 6-cylinder model DINO 206 GT, and the rest we're gonna use in some our car, Fiat DINO. By the way, in the beginning, 1965-66, DINO was a separate brand than Ferrari, because Enzo Ferrari he didn't want to mess up with his very prestigious V12 cars. So this was the short story how Fiat DINO was created. Engineer Aurelio Lampredi was involved with this 2-liter V6 engine, but actually was based on the already existing Vittorio Jano's Ferrari V6 race engine. Later in 1969 they changed the capacity to 2.4 liters. Enzo Ferrari wanted to build the engines in-house in Maranello, but Fiat disagreed, and on the end Fiat built the engines. That's why the engines has a stamp Fiat on the block, and Enzo Ferrari was a little bit upset. Anyway, the deal between Enzo Ferrari and Agnelli forced Fiat to create something amazing, and very appreciated nowadays, Fiat DINO. With the same model name like the Enzo Ferrari's DINO 206 GT, Agnelli even went further. He created Coupe and Spider versions. The Coupe was done by Bertone, but with main designer Giorgetto Giugiaro, like the car in front of us. The Spider version was designed by Pininfarina, both very sporty and very beautiful. This was the top Fiat model for 1960s and 1970s, and very expensive as well. Fiat main business was, and it is, producing cars for the mass. Cheap, small cars and affordable for everyone, with some exceptions like the big and executive Fiat 130 with 2 and 4 doors. In October 1966, at the Turin Motor Show was presented for the first time the 2-seater Fiat DINO Spider. 5 months later, in 1967, at the Geneva Motor Show was introduced the car in front of us. The 2+2 version, very cool Giorgetto Giugiaro designed Fiat DINO Coupe. As we said earlier, both cars were very beautiful and maybe the best sports cars in its class. Dream cars not only for Fiat fans, but for everyone who loves cars. Front longitudinally mounted V6 2-liter engine, later 2.4-liter, 5-speed manual gearbox and rear wheel drive. The power was phenomenal for 1966. 2 liters naturally aspirated engine, 160 horsepower, was crazy power. I remember early 1990s when some 2-liter cars came into the market like BMW E36 320i, Opel or Vauxhall Vectra and Calibra 2-liter 2.16. They were 150 horsepower with injection and 4 valves per cylinder. Then Nissan Primera 2-liter GT was 156 horsepower, but no 160. So was crazy unheard power for 1966. Later on, Honda S2000 is gonna came with the 240 horsepower from 2-liter naturally aspirated engine, but this was the best 2-liter Fiat engine for the time. All aluminum double overhead cam, very responsive, 2 valves per cylinder, fed by 3 twin-choke Weber 40 carburetors, so on the end 160 horsepower. Very strange, but in very Italian style, Ferrari was claiming 180 horsepower for the same 2-liter DINO 206 GT. But actually everything was the same. Anyway, this is a Ferrari problem. Moving forward with the 2-liter Fiat Dino, to be more precise 1986.6 cc. The engine was revving up to 7200 rpm and 163 Nm of torque. But something was very cool. The sound of this incredible engine, especially in top revs. Just amazing sound, like music from the Italian opera. Actually, all Italian cars sounds fantastic, even the 4-cylinders one. As a very small kid, I remember the noise from the engine of one of my first favorite car, Fiat 125. Later I saw Fiat 132 in action, accelerating on a straight line. Was with Greek registration number, by the way, and this makes me to like the Italian cars. Anyway, back to Fiat Dino Coupe. We mentioned earlier the design was done by Bertone House, but actually by Giorgetto Giugiaro. The design is very slim and aerodynamic, and thanks to this the maximum speed is very high. Fiat was claiming 200 km/h or 124 mph for the Coupe version and 210 km/h or 130 mph for the Spider, and I'm sure this was the fastest mass-produced car on that time. Tires were very big, Pirelli Cinturato 205/70/14, fitted on a Cromodoro magnesium wheels, the same by the way we see on the Ferrari Dino. Inside the brakes were again top, delivered from England, grilling, discs on the four corners. Later 2.4 liters Fiat Dinos even share the same grilling brakes with the super sports cars like Lamborghini Miura and De Tomaso Pantera. Independent front and rear suspension, front very modern for the time, double wishbones and anti-roll bar for the 2.4 liter cars. The early 2 liter cars, the rear suspension was a rigid axle on semi-elliptic leaves. 5-speed gearbox were fitted, the early cars with Fiat units, but later 2.4 liter are fitted with the dogleg Zandrak fabric gearbox. So in 1969 Fiat upgraded the model to 2.4 liter spec. We mentioned some of the changes, but the biggest change of course was the engine. Now they not only enlarged the capacity from 2 liter to 2.4 liter, but Fiat changed all the structure of the engine. Instead of all aluminum, the new one is cast iron block. The power respectively went from 160 to 180 horsepower and 216 Nm of torque. The same engine went into Maranello's Ferrari Dino 246 GT GTS, which in the same 1969 year replaced the 206 GT. Again 3 twin chocks Weber's 40, but different spec. The 20 more horsepower doesn't make a big difference, but the bigger torque was the big factor. Probably the most interesting fact is up to 1969 all the cars were assembled by Fiat in Turin. But from 1969 the Spider and Coupe Fiat Dinos were assembled in Maranello on the Ferrari production line alongside with the Ferrari 246 GT. So this was very cool, and the later 2.4 liter cars are more desirable in this way by the early 2 liter cars. As you guessing probably, the production number is not big for the Fiat Dino cars. They built in total 7,803 cars from both versions, Coupe and Spider. From 1966 to 1969, Fiat built 4,833 Series 1 or the 2 liter version, of which 3,670 Coupe and just 1,163 Spider cars. Then, from 1969 to the end of the production in 1973, Fiat built, or maybe better to say, Ferrari built 2,970 Series 2 or the 2.4 liter version, of which 420 Spiders and 2,550 Coupe version, like the car in front of us. This amazing burgundy red 1969 example Fiat Dino 2400 Coupe. From all versions, the rarest is the 2.4 liter Fiat Dino Spider, with, as we said, just 420 were made over 4 years' time. In percentage, that means 74% are Coupe and just 26% Spiders, but not because the Spider was much more expensive or hard to build, but simply because the customers were choosing Coupe version, which was very beautiful and the body style was dream for many car guys. This model Fiat was never officially raced, so it wasn't a race model. This was against the Fiat and Ferrari vision. As we mentioned earlier, the case this car was born was because of the need of 500 engines with this spec, and this was the territory already taken from Ferrari. Fiat race cars were the above, but the philosophy of these cars was completely different, and different category and class. Very small engines, sometimes even under 1 liter, and very lightweight cars. But Fiat Dino Coupe was a posh car for the people who can't afford a Ferrari, Maserati, Lamborghini or De Tomaso, but can afford a brand new, striking design sports car with, let's say, Ferrari engine. Saying with Ferrari engine maybe is wrong, but just both cars shares the same engine. Something similar to Lamborghini's V10 Gallardo engine and Audi R8 V10 or Audi S6 V10. The original engine was developed by Audi and mounted in the same Audi R8 and S6, and on the same time was used in Lamborghini Gallardo. But everyone saying, oh, this Audi is with Lamborghini engine, just because Ferrari or Lamborghini are more prestigious than Fiat and Audi. The other interesting moment is that everyone knows the story of the purposely built rally winning car Lancia Stratos. Was developed in 1972-73 and first raced in 1974. But this car was using the same V6 2.4 liter engine. Fiat bought Lancia in 1969 and later replaced the rally car Fulvia with Stratos. But everyone's saying Lancia Stratos with Ferrari engine. I don't know if this is right, because we know already the development of this V6 engine. We said that this engine was created by Aurelio Lampredi, who worked for Fiat at the time, before he was working for Ferrari. But just because it was based on the existing Vittorio Jano's Ferrari V6 engine doesn't mean it's a Ferrari engine. Was developed by Fiat and maybe with some advices from Ferrari. But again, probably it's better to say it's a Fiat engine. Also, don't forget the stamps on the V6 block showing Fiat. The car is just amazing, very cool, not only outside but inside as well, with wooden steering wheel, nice quality leather, nice clocks. The seating position is really like a top sports car, so this was proper sports car, especially with this incredible V6 engine. So guys, I hope you liked the video about Fiat Dino Coupe. If you like, please subscribe my channel and see you next time guys, bye!